Hey, good afternoon. I'll call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, June 7th. This is a regular meeting of the Fargo Planning Commission. The following agenda items are continued to July 5th, 2022 Planning Commission. Items 1A and 1B. The proposed planned unit development on Curram's second edition, location at 1129 and 1131 14th Street North, Teak Fraternity House. There will be no presentation by staff on this item and no action will be taken by this commission today. Is anyone here to testify on that item? And question for commissioners. The July Planning Commission is on Tuesday, July 5th. Is that still a good day for everybody to have a meeting? Will we be here?
Will we be here? We'll be here.
Well, it's not an ideal day, just because many people extend their 4th of July days away or to the lake or wherever they go, but I can't speak for anyone else.
So,
If you moved it a day, it wouldn't hurt.
Either that be or would it be a week?
A week.
A week. That's fine.
We have gone to a Thursday before, haven't we?
I don't know.
I would maybe suggest that we, in a couple weeks, actually work on seeing if we'll have a quorum. And then if we have a quorum, we'll still have it for July 5th, and if we don't, we'll try figuring out something else.
Okay, sounds
Does that sound good?
Okay. Moving along to item A, approval of the order of agenda. I've read the changes. With that being said, anybody, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any approved or? All in favor, signifying by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay. Agenda approved. Item B, minutes of the regular meeting of May 3rd, 2022. You have the meetings in your packet, meeting notes in your packet. Any changes, discussion?
I'll make the motion for approval.
Second.
All right, we have first and a second. All in favor of the motion, signifying by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Minutes approved. Item C, we'll move on to the hearing items. The first hearing item is 2A Urban Plains by Brandt 5th edition and being presented by Kim.
Good afternoon, Chair Tassa and Planning Commissioners. I'm Kim Satrowski. I'm the new Planning Coordinator in the Planning Department. Item 2A and 2B is Urban Plains by Brandt's 5th edition, located at 2970 Uptown Way South, Lot 2, Block 1. This is generally located between Veterans Boulevard and 55th Street South and 28th Avenue South and Cedar Parkway near the Sanford Wellness. The zoning is limited commercial with a conditional overlay. That won't change with this particular entitlement. Here are some photos of the site. The top one is facing easterly. You can see some dirt piles there from the construction to the north. And the photo on the bottom is a mixed-use development that the applicant is also building right now. So this particular conditional use permit for a mixed-use development would be very similar to what you see in the bottom photo. Here's a site plan. So you can see the brown silhouette of the building that's under construction, and then the proposed mixed-use building would be south of that. The applicant has also submitted some illustrations of what they would like that mixed use to look like. This would be from the Uptown Way. Here are the concepts. Notification for this conditional use permit has been noticed as required in the local paper and mailed to affected property owners within 300 feet. No public comment has been received. The Planning Commission is the final decision maker for conditional use permits, so any appeal of this decision must be filed within 10 days of this meeting. Here on the screen are the conditions for the two conditional use permits. The first one is residential living in the LC Limited Commercial Zoning District. And the condition would be the maximum units per acre would be 35. And the second conditional use permit would be an alternative access plan to reduce the parking for 1.65 parking spaces per residential unit and 1 space per 200 square feet of commercial space. And this does align with their other mixed-use projects that they've built throughout the city in this area. Our engineering department has reviewed it and is supportive of these conditions. The recommended motion is on the screen, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Thanks, Kim. Any commissioners have any questions for Kim? The applicant is here. I'll invite the applicant up. Please state your name for the record.
Afternoon. Tim Gleason with Enclave. I guess if you have any questions, otherwise we're excited to get the final mixed-use project out of Uptown in Maine. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
What about a restaurant? Is there plans for a restaurant at all in here?
There is not. We typically build our mixed-use buildings to have restaurant capability, so we'll build them with grease shafts going to the roof. We have 7,500 square feet of commercial. We also, right now, are parked about 1 per 150 square feet on the commercial space, which would allow us to have some office up to probably 3,000 or 4,000 square feet of restaurant capability before we'd hit a parking constraint where we and our tenant wouldn't feel comfortable without having adequate parking on the site.
So we're reducing the parking by about 20% versus code,
Right.
but we pretty much do that almost all the time, right?
And as
Okay.
the traffic engineer cited when he was doing his review, that the peak demand for residential parking is usually in the evenings, and commercial would be during the day, and so they offset in some of that as well.
Correct.
So what happens if a restaurant, 4,000 square foot restaurant comes in here? What do we do? I mean, because that's a prime time problem, trying to park with people or a bar and restaurant comes in here. Do we have any recourse after this approval? If something changes that dramatic for parking?
I would say it'd be unlikely, given typically it's 1 per 75 in land development code for restaurants to have 5, even with the 4,000 square feet, we would make it work with our current site plan. So I would say this is a conservative in that we are achieving higher than what's currently shown. So for parking spaces on the site.
So if the 4,000 square feet, or if somebody wanted more, would you then turn them down if it got to the point where you thought the parking was going to be a problem?
Correct. Or the tenant wouldn't take the space, because if they don't have adequate parking, no restaurant's going to take the space. So we would need to, they would want that just as much as we would. So, and if that happened, then if we, for example, had a 7,000 square foot restaurant user, at that time, we'd likely, during the fit up permitting process, be requesting an alternative access plan, which then I would bring to you guys the case of if we looked at that block as a whole and looked at the different uses and hours of businesses across the entire block, as a mixed use as a whole for parking would probably be justified. So.
I just have one more question. It's not related to your project specifically, but in planning for office space, Obviously, we're seeing the fallout from the COVID experience of less office space being sought. And that it's harder, even in downtown Fargo here, to rent office space, as it not so thought so before COVID. So has your company changed their view as to what they designate for office space?
We're doing one commercial office building this year, about 28,000 square feet. Typically, no one is building speculative office space in the city of Fargo, which would mean building it, expecting a tenant to come. That's not happening right now. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners, for the applicant? If not, we'll open the public here or discussion. Any members of the audience wish to speak on this item? Anybody wish to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Or are you ready to act?
I'll move staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second. Go ahead and any discussion on the motion? If not, take a roll call vote.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Stofford,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Schmidt, Aye. Rosenberg,
Aye.
Tasa.
Aye. Motion approved.
I'd just like to say one thing. Welcome back, Kim.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Items 3A and 3B, we will hear from Donald on the Urban Plains by Brant 6th edition.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Donald Kress of the Department of Planning and Development. The Urban Plains by Brant 6th edition, which is almost within sight of our last project, which was right here, is located at 5100 28th Avenue South, this large property here. Here's the Shields Arena, 32nd Avenue South. There are a couple of entitlements here. There's a minor subdivision, which is a replat of this lot into 2 lots, and a zone change from MR3 multi-dwelling residential with a conditional overlay to limited commercial with a conditional overlay. Again, the current zoning here is shown as MR3. This is a couple shots of the site here. Looking along, this is Sanford Hospital out here. Here's the subject property. And as your commissioners, I believe, are familiar, this is a little different streetscape than you do find in southwest Fargo here, where there's diagonal parking along the street, a little wider right of way overall. And here we see Urban Plains Park across 51st Street from the subject property. And a couple more views here looking south. There's the Shields Arena. And looking north, the big mound there you see is actually on a separate property. That's not part of this property. The plat proposes to subdivide the lot into 2 lots here, Lot 1 and Lot 2. This is again for commercial development. There is a conditional overlay that is part of this. As you see in your packet there, the emphasis of the conditional overlay is to we might say capitalize on this streetscape here and not have parking between the buildings and the street, and to respect that is a distinctive streetscape in this area, and also to be able to connect with the park a little better than an ordinary commercial building would do. This is a different conditional overlay that was on there some time ago when it was originally zoned to limited commercial. This actually is more detailed in terms of connecting to the street. And the applicant, Tim Gleason, is again with us and may wish to address the commission. The recommended motion is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen. And that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Donald?
Donald, what's the reason to go to a stricter conditional overlay from what was in place before?
It was a little-
I've been asked that
Right.
by
It's just a
numerous-
little, I wouldn't say it's necessarily stricter, Commissioner. It's just a little more oriented toward that street. When the earlier LC conditional overlay was just more of a general one that we use on all our LC properties. This just, again, as you see on there, has a couple items that talk about relation to the street.
Are there anything else in that conditional overlay, like exterior finishes or anything else? Or is it
There
just-
are a couple of things, some things were not, I'll read it off the card here. So there are some regarding finishes, it talks about dumpsters there, and then there's our standard site design, pedestrian connectivity items that are pretty much in all of our conditional overlays, and a few prohibited uses that would not be appropriate for that neighborhood that would be otherwise allowed under LC.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of interesting that we come back 4 months later and put a stricter conditional overlay on it than what was in there before.
Yeah. It's really more of a focused differently. I don't know if it's actually stricter, because there are some things that aren't included in here. But yes, sir, it changed a little bit.
Donald, can you maybe give us a little history of this specific site? As John mentioned, we just looked at this one a few months ago, and we had a pretty significant discussion back and forth of, at that time, the project that we ended up approving was the significant, I think it was a 55-plus active living apartment complex, and now we're kind of reverting back to previously what the zoning was there. So could you maybe just give us a refresher and maybe history of what we're sort of looking at here?
Commissioner, I'll tell you, I will do a part of it, and then if we could ask Mr. Gleason to give the background on what motivated his new application there. As you say, it was for some time zoned limited commercial. The property, as you recall, had been undeveloped for some time. Last fall, the applicant, again, Enclave, came to us with the proposal for the 55 and over. That would change to MR3, so that again changed the zoning, and being a residential building particularly, we wanted to, again, take advantage of the streetscape, orient it toward the park, capitalize on that unique layout there. That was approved, that was at your commission on November 2nd and December 7th of last year, approved by the City Commission January 10th of this year. And that development did not go forward. Late this spring, Enclave came to us with this proposal. And if I may, Commissioner Tassa, hand it off to Mr. Gleason to describe the history from that point.
Absolutely. Go
Sure.
ahead.
Thanks, Donald. So we had, the previous landowner had sat on this, or the current landowner, for about a decade. We came to you guys to move 55-plus active adult, as Mr. Schmidt said. We moved that project forward about 3-4 months ago. 2 users approached us to purchase the land and split the lot into two. One being YMCA of Fargo, Steve Smith, the president of YMCA, is here today, and then CHI Friendship, who serves a need in the city for disabilities, and Dory's here today, the president of CHI as well. So the two users they are currently under contract. As a part of that contract, their due diligence period specifies that all entitlements need to be complete, which means we need to revert back to limited commercial zoning. So.
Any other questions let's go back. Any other questions for Donald?
Commissioners, just if I may follow up on that, we did look at if there was a way to neatly fit these uses into the MR3 zone, and we determined that wasn't going to work. So the LC with the overlay would be the appropriate zone.
Which we realize from Enclave's perspective, very poor timing, and we wish we would have known about these users about 8 months ago. Would have helped everything. So.
Do you have any other questions for the applicant, commissioners?
Would it be possible, and is it appropriate to hear from the representatives from Friendship and also the YMCA?
If they wish to speak, they sure can. I think you could open up to the public forum, and if they wish to, address the commission.
I was going to say, you could maybe address at the public hearing?
As you wish, ma'am. That would be okay too.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant before I open up the public hearing? Okay. We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. If you wish to speak on this item, just when you move to the item, just make sure you state your name for the record.
Steve Smith, CEO of the YMCA here in Fargo. Yeah, we're looking at childcare space to take obviously a huge need in the community and make sure that we're serving kids in the best possible space that we can. We have a unique opportunity. We've had a donor step to the plate and make this land purchase available to us, and so that's been helpful in this situation. And obviously, all you hear about in the news right now is limited childcare, and we do a great job of this. Right now, we're serving about 2,100 kids in childcare daily through the school year. Before the pandemic, about 2,500. This will be about 250 kids of childcare. The park space across the street is huge. It allows us to utilize that space and make sure that it's getting a great touch with kids and that. And obviously we'll have our own playground space on the property as well. And we think it's a good opportunity to develop a piece of land that has sat empty for quite a while.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
And I'm Dory Leslie, the president of Friendship. Friendship has been looking for land for several months, and we came across this piece of property at that location, and we felt it would be a great piece of property for us to build a new day program building for us to be able to serve more people who have a disability in the Fargo, West Fargo area. We are in a location today in South Fargo that is smaller and not as accessible as a building that we are proposing to build. So we have been working with our plans and with Enclave and Urban Plains for several months to see if we can purchase a piece of land and build a building that gives us more accessibility and for serving the poor and the vulnerable within our communities. And so we're excited for working with the YMCA as well to be our neighbor.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Anybody else wish to speak?
I'd just like to ask a general question. Maybe Mark would want to answer this, but
Why don't we I'll close the public hearing and then go ahead.
okay?
Yep.
It seems like many of the plans that we've been looking at recently are apartment developments. And there has been reference to requiring developers to provide low-income housing in a certain percentage of their building. I know that going forward, there is also the hopes that there would be some childcare in these apartment buildings, and then also some amount of shopping for just necessary items. Has the city been looking into any of those three? I know the first one is something that's quite common.
I think maybe to roundabout answer that question is trying to be able to find the right zoning districts that allow something like that to be able to be built by right. And that's one issue that we've had with land development code, which is starting the process of a rewrite of the land development code. For instance, we don't have a mixed use zoning district. Everything that's mixed use comes before you for approval through some sort of conditional use permit process or a PUD. Currently in our MR zoning districts, there is a percentage of daycares that can be allowed in them based on certain approvals. And we have discussed the idea of blending some affordable housing in some of these projects and working in participation with the developers. Currently, MetroCog's putting together a housing study that will kind of give us a better window of what that availability is or lack of availability is in the region. And I think until we actually get that study back in our hands, it's going to be hard for us to be able to see what we need.
When do you think that will be available?
Probably within the year.
All right, I have another question, and that is, as I was referencing, it seems like there are really a lot of applications for apartments. And is there any kind of ratio that within your plans somehow encourage some kind of a mixture of the apartment buildings and single-family dwellings.
Our growth plan does identify some areas where we'd like to see mixed-use type developments. And it is taken into consideration when we put together what land uses should be in our extraterritorial jurisdiction area.
So at this point, there isn't anyone who wanted to build an apartment building, any developer that would be turned down because of that plan.
I guess it would be your board that would approve or not approve that plan. The staff and the planning department would work with them to conceptually put something together to be able to get approval for it. So at the staff level, no, we don't tell them that's not workable in the process. I'm getting a little nervous that we're getting off topic based on the conditions of approval for this.
Sure, well, I think we should proceed to approve, but I'm just interested in related questions, that's all. Thank you.
And maybe this is part of a brown bag that maybe we can have of the process of an application coming to the planning department, and before it comes through us, what it goes through and what the planning department does up until we get the packet, so.
Yeah, and also, whatever the master plans are that are currently in place and when new ones will be in place, that will be an important information to us too.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions? Are you ready to act?
I think I have a question, or I don't even know if it's a question really, but as I'm kind of thinking about how I'm going to vote on this one, is maybe some frustration that I have with how we go about these lots on urban plains. And, you know, we talked a lot about this in the November meeting, that, you know, we were going to go with this high-density multifamily project that was 55 plus, which met a need. There's a need for housing. There's a need for housing for 55 plus, but there's also a need for childcare and, you know, nonprofits like this that are willing to step up and provide a service. So I know with this particular site, we talked about, you know, what's the best use of this particular land, being adjacent to the park, 51st Street being a more advanced roadway with the diagonal parking and the enhanced infrastructure that's there. You know, that was what the discussion was, is how should we best use this land? So I guess I'm torn between, there was the project that we looked at in November was high density 55 plus housing. That's great. And this new application here is for another service. That's great. So I'm kind of torn. And I don't know, maybe that's a question for Tim, is that, you know, if we as a commission decided the other one was better, would that project still move forward, or is this, you know, I guess I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I mean, it's zoned MR3, so the current zoning would allow that. We would be able to move forward with that project. I would just hate to lose two great commercial buyers, especially when we were at the planning commission last time. We had all discussed, there's no one coming to the table that wants a commercial use. Well, we didn't know about 4 months after that someone would come to the table. So I know that was a big discussion of, do we want multifamily here? So now we're going back to the other, well, do we want commercial here? So I think so that's from my perspective, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I would just add to that, I think in terms of commercial space, that these properties being developed is sort of, I don't know if I would say mission adjacent, but, you know, the concept of having higher density active living and commercial space meant to provide a service like daycare or day rehabilitation is different but the same. I guess is just how I would view it.
I don't know, maybe I'm just confused on this, but didn't you say there were two pieces of land there?
Yes, ma'am, the property will be platted into two properties, I believe.
And that's to the two nonprofits?
Yes, ma'am, I believe Mr. Gleason, I believe that the Y will be on the south property and the CHL will be on the north property. They'll take their access directly off the avenues, not off 51st.
Any other discussion, commissioners?
I'll make the motion to accept the findings of staff.
Second.
We have we have a motion. Any discussion on the motion? If not, I'll take a roll call vote.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Tassa.
Aye. Motion approved. Next item is item 4 by Donald.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. This is the Asselson Commercial Third Edition. This property is located on 32nd Avenue South, west of 42nd Street. Here's a city-owned water tower here as a landmark. This is a minor subdivision. The zoning here is general commercial and will remain general commercial. No zone change is proposed. Here's a couple of views of the property. As you look at this property, the access to these properties here is provided by private driveways crossing here. There is no direct access to 32nd Avenue. So this is just taking a look. This is 32nd Avenue in the background here. As you see, the property is undeveloped. Here's looking west along one of those driveways. Again, the subject property here, convenience store in the background there, and the city-owned property. The plat here is very simple, just combining these lots here. And there are some, when this was originally platted as Asselson Commercial Second Edition, there usually is public utility easements that ran along the lot lines. These 3 properties are now going to be developed as one, and the applicant wanted to combine these properties and get rid of these easements, which they have to do through a platting process. This plat also creates as a lot a city-owned parcel here, which is a parcel that provides access to the water tower. So they're just formalizing that as a lot on this plat. Very straightforward, about as simple as you can be there. And again, the lot will continue to take access internally from the private drives. The applicant, Don Dabbert of Dabbert Custom Homes, is with us this afternoon and may wish to address the commission. The recommended motion is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Commissioners, any question for Donald? No questions. I'd invite the applicant up if you have any comments. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? Nope. Okay. I'll go ahead and open the public comment. Anybody wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Are we ready to act?
I have a question for Don.
Yes, sir.
Donald, what happens with the city right away here? Is that concrete? I mean, what's the process of maintaining that? What happens here? for
Well,
the
it's not
city?
right away, sir. What happened is, on the original plat, this strip here, this 20-foot wide strip, and you see it's still noted on there as an access and utility easement. That was an easement at the time for the city. It provides utilities and access to the water tower. The city eventually bought that property, so it's not an easement. They own it outright. But it was just a parcel. It was just a piece they bought. And then when this plat came along, the applicant, at our request, just formalized it as a lot on this property. So it is a private street, but I believe we do maintain access to it.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that when the water treatment plant with the water tower back there, they wanted to make sure that they always had access back to the water tower. So that's why they purchased it by deed. And so it's not right of way, it's just a lot with an access easement on it. So it's not platted right away or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a
To make a
motion.
motion. Oh, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the findings and recommendations of staff.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll take a roll call vote.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Tassa.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. The next item is not a public hearing item. It's the planned unit development final plan for Bentley Place First Edition. Take it away,
Yeah.
Megan.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. This is Bentley Place First Edition. This is Phase 2, or the second final plan for your commission. And I'll talk a little bit about the history and the master plan here in a minute. The subject property is located at 3271 Cedar Parkway South. So up on the screen, you can see here, this is 32nd Avenue South. This is Veterans Boulevard, so we're just set back one lot from those right-of-ways, and the city of West Fargo is right here. The whole PUD master plan encompasses what you see in black here. And this, which is Phase 2, the second final plan reviewed by your commission here tonight. The second phase, and as the developer continues, we'll keep bringing these in front of your commission for review. This legal description here is Lot 6, Block 1 of Bentley Place First Edition, and the applicant, John Eunice with Eagle Ridge Development, is here if you have any questions. So here's some images of the site. You can see from the south looking north, first phase is under construction right now, and this image on the south is looking west from Cedar Parkway. Back in, I believe it was March or December of 2019, or I'm sorry, January of 2020 or March 2020 is when the PUD master plan went before your commission and city commission, which outlines a general development plan for the area. So that is one component of a PUD. There's the zoning change, there's the master plan, and then the final plan. So the final plan is kind of the last step in that development. Back in October of 2020, your commission saw the first final plan and reviewed it for consistency with the master plan. So that's what is in front of you today. And what is for your commission to review is consistency of the final plan with the master plan. So up on your screen is, it's a little bit darker here, but you can see the Phase 2 of the final plan, and if you want me to toggle back and forth, I sure can. Again, what your commission is to review is consistency between the final plan and the master plan. This is essentially the civil site plan, essentially what they have submitted for their building permit for review, which is typical of what we would bring for the final plan. Staff finds that all criteria are met and is recommending approval of it. Again, this is not a public hearing item, so there were no notices or anything like that. That concludes staff's presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And I believe Mr. Eunice would perhaps like to address the commission and maybe share a couple of images.
Sure. Any questions for commissioners for Megan? Okay, I'll invite the applicant up. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Commissioners. John Eunice with Eagle Ridge Development. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an update on where we're at on the project. The pictures did a pretty good justice on where we're at as of right now. We've got the first two buildings are currently being constructed. We are hoping to be done with the first one in the next probably 4 months, and the second one hopefully by the end of the year. We've been spending a lot of time, our team has, on focusing on the plaza area, which was a critical component of our design of our PUD. And I wanted to bring forward a couple images that kind of showed how we're integrating some commercial urban feel to the interior courtyard. And this doesn't show all of the amenities that we have planned for that space, but it does a pretty good job at least of showing what we have in our mind. And with that, I'd open it up for any questions you guys have.
Go ahead.
John, it looks like you were doing 8 and now it's 6 buildings. Are they the same number of units, just bigger property?
So right now, phase 1 aligns with the overall PUD. The second phase aligns with it. We're still just much like the second phase. Right now we're working on finalizing the details on the third and fourth phase of this project. So we aren't 100% positive what the final outcome is going to be, but we'll be back in front of you guys with any modifications if there are any.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Just a question on those extra two buildings that Art was mentioning. Am I viewing this properly, that looks like parking now?
No, there's going to be buildings to the north that, if you look immediately to the east, there's two additional buildings, which is what we originally had planned. We're going through a couple different concepts where our overall square footage on that last phase on the north side in terms of offices wouldn't change. We're just going through some processes on a site plan, making sure it works from a couple different perspectives. So what's shown on there is purely, it's for exhibit. It's not for approval. That's just internal workings.
Okay, thank you.
And I will note quick, at the time that your commission reviewed this, though it's not depicted here, we did note that the applicant, which was Eagle Ridge Development and John Eunice, that there may be one building on the north in lieu of two. And so we knew kind of at that time and did present to the commission that there was a possibility that things may change up here.
Any other questions? I will accept or entertain a motion.
Also move recommendation from staff.
Second?
First and a second, any discussion on the motion? If not, roll call vote.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Morgan.
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Holtz.
Aye.
Tossa.
Aye. Anybody motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Adjourn. Thank you, everyone.